Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to review a game called Wildlands. Like a car horn beeping in the distance, these are the wilds of our lands. Anyway, this is a game from Martin Wallace, and the only reason you'll know that is because the name Martin Wallace in it, because it is really not like a lot of the Martin Wallace games I remember. This is quite the brutal, almost arena-like gladiatorial combat affair. It's 2 to 4 players, each with a team of 5 units on a board, fighting, scraping, pushing, pulling, covering, jumping, flying, basically beating the crap out of each other trying to get gems, because in the end of the day, gems are victory points. You beat up 5 people, or you take 5 of your gems, or you do any combination of it, and you win. So, let's take a look at Wildlands and see if it's as wild as Lando Calrissian. What you get in the box? Pretty simple. You get a big 2-sided map of an arena of great combat forthwith. You have different groups, polygonal-sized areas, not all squares. It's all metered around, and the map is pretty simple. Different types of terrain. You have the light white on the black lettering, and that means there's no coverage here. This isn't innately a coverage area. If you walk in here, you're fully exposed. Ooh. And here, this stands for cover. If you're in here, then you are in a situation where you can take cover. Now, that doesn't matter if you're adjacent. If I'm here, and if this circle can see that circle, they can shoot. But it does matter in places like here, where if I'm in this circle, and I can see here, but this is a coverage area, then pretend that it is obscured. And so you can shoot in, but you can't shoot through. That's really the only kind of intricacy, except for certain areas of the map, not on this side, but on the other, have a way where you can only go uphill or downhill, and that's a little different set of a rule that you can have. Nothing really complex. Honestly, the game is not about trying to find rules. As a matter of fact, it's as minimalist as I've expected from I could possibly expect from a Martin Wallace game. Once again, you have your 5 units. Each side gets 5 units and a specific card related to those units. You get your own custom deck of cards. The picture's irrelevant. All that matters is the icons. Each card has a set of icons, and any of the characters that you have with those icons, you can use this card to move them, if you use the gray banner. If you use the flags next to it, that's what gives you special abilities like rallying, or this covers pretty much any of your units could use this. Attack, melee attack. These special cards, every deck comes with some special cards. These are kind of like bonus cards that let you either move anybody you want to, take 2 cards on your turn, or interrupt someone else's turn, and that's where it gets tricky, to do sort of a mini turn of your own. Here, like if you, for example, if this is the blunderbuss, and you have this icon, you can either use this card to move Tack with his blunderbuss of glory, or you can use it to do a double fire 1 or 2 spaces next to you and fire 2 arrows at somebody. You can also shield. There's blocking as well. So, for example, here this blocks anything that's ranged or anything that's area of effect, but it won't block melee. And the interesting part is that these single swords actually not only attack for 1 point of damage, but they can be defended by a point of damage. So you play a sword, they play a sword, it negates. Although there are double damage die which don't get to defend, and they can still be blocked by the simple use of a single sword. How cool is that? That's it. Then you have the pieces, these gems, which will go on the board somewhere. We don't know where yet until the start of the game. And then we have cards that map. Each card, this is really simple. Each card maps to a different numbered space on the board. It's really only when you put these into motion that you start getting to see sort of the simplistic brilliance of this game. And these are health, so basically, or not health, but damage points, because once a unit is damaged up to the level of its strength, it is gone and given to whoever killed it, if anybody did. And then you get the manual, which is a lot of words for what is really effectively a simple game, but here we go. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the gameplay. Oh, and I should note that there are actually 4 races that come in the box, not just these 2. So you give options to play 4 different classes, and there are, I believe, 1 or 2 others available as expansions as well. Let's take a look at gameplay now. Begin with the final active setup for the game. Now here's the tricky part. Each person gets 10 cards. With those 10 cards, they get to decide secretly where their heroes are going to spawn on the big game board. So they choose 5 of these, and they place them anywhere. Now, you've got all kinds of options as far as what that means. As far as, like, do you want to try and clump them up? Do you want to put them in, like, sprawl them out? It's kind of up to you, but nobody gets to know where you place it. So, for example, and you would never place these face up, I'm just saying. So I wanted to go 35. I'm going to go 2. I'm going to go 14, 24, and, oh, what the heck, let's do 8. Now, pretend that I've actually looked at the board to figure out where those all are, but you're going to want to try and put them in the advantageous places, maybe places with cover or places where you think that you have best mobility. That's up to you. The one thing you don't get to know when you set up is where your gems are going to be that you're trying to go capture. That is stage 2. When you're done placing your units, and this is where it gets tricky, you also want to be at the same time looking for where you can scatter your opponent's gems. That is tricky and clever, because you're looking for your units, but you also might have to look and make that choice of, hey, you know what, I really want to be kind of all over the map, but then I also want to make sure that their pieces are not all, or their diamonds or gems are also sprawled out all over too, because if you stick them all in one little area and they happen to have enough people there, they can try and just scoop up a bunch of gems. So this goes over here. And then, let's say that I, just through sheer brilliance of strategic thought, were able to place 5 where I thought they wanted to go. Then these go to my opponents. Now, with these 5 left, we place our tokens. So, let's go 33. 33 is here. There's a gem. Then 3 goes over there. 15... somewhere around here. You probably don't need to watch me do this all over the place, but wait, what the heck? We're young, some of us. And 8. So you got that's quite the spread of blue gems. That's actually not bad. Random brilliance in action, and then these just go out of the game. Once you're done with these, there's no other value for these cards. So then we have our orange. 37, 5, 28. So 37, 5, 28, 29. Ooh, but that's still over there, so that's actually not too bad. And 1. Brilliant strikes again. Okay, with that, we are ready to play. Now notice once again that I'm only leaving these face up because I'm explaining how the game goes. You would always have them down. You don't want to know your opponents to know where you're going to actually spawn these suckers, and the hope is that based on when and where you spawn them, you can do it in such a way that you can sort of ambush them and take them on and make them feel bad about themselves. The other thing is you never show your opponent your cards, but because we're showing this as an example, everybody starts with 7 cards. Yay, I counted to 7 properly. And so you'll be starting with 7 cards, and the first player goes, and we will begin that segment right now. Pretty simply, we have the start. Oh, this is cool. Nice. This is the eyeglass of looking. Anyway, so we have our cards to start with. Now on your turn, you have to do one of 2 things. You have to reveal a hero card and place it on the board. If you haven't done so already, obviously after turn 5, you're not going to have to worry about that. There are no more heroes to put out. And then you play as many of these cards as you wish that you can. And after your turn is over, you then draw 3 cards, or up to 7. You can't exceed 7. And then the next player takes their turn. And you go until one of you's either taken all 5 of their gems back or taken a combination of 5 of their gems and killed off an additional amount of their opponents equal to 5. So, alright, we begin. Now, notice, I have to put somebody out first. Who am I going to put out? Now, looking at orange and looking where the orange pieces are, I think I probably have the best shot by doing 2. So number 2, I'm going to use that up. Goodbye. And it goes to space 2 with my Matilda the Minotaur. Dun dun dun. Wow, that's awesome. Look how close I am to that gem. It's almost unfair. Now I begin. Now I only have Matilda to work with, so I have to ask myself, what would Matilda do? Well, Matilda has 2 cards that have her icon. So that's all she can work with, is these 2 icons. She has a choice. She can attack using that, actually either one, or she can always move. If she's on this side, she can always move. That's always a possibility. She also has a common thing, which anybody can use to attack, but there's no one to attack. She's by her ones, see. So she wants to go here. She's going to use this card to move Matilda here. Now, how do you actually collect gems once you've done so? Well, that's interesting. You actually have to have 3 cards with the icon of the character that you're using to pick up the gem. Now, she only has 1, so right now that's not possible. So she really doesn't have a whole lot left to do. She could use one of these. However, first, every time you take an action, before doing anything else, even if you're ending your turn, you have to say, does anybody want to interrupt? Oh, I do. So, if you have one of these interrupt cards, you can. The question is, what can this player do with that interrupt card? The answer is, well, you can put out a creature and play a little mini turn. Is there anything we can do to mess it up? Well, it doesn't seem like there's anything that's going to be very helpful. You know what? We're going to interrupt. I interrupt. Yazam. Okay, well, what are you going to do? Going to take and... Woohoo! Bye-bye. We're going to put this here. Alright, look at that. Elsie, the strange looking friend of Gizmos and Gadgets ever. Don't you just like the panorama, how it all fits? Anyway, so now that that's out, the choice is, look at that, I've got 3 options. This isn't going to do any good because this is melee, not close enough, but it will use movement. So, move 1. Ha ha ha. Now, Elsie could pick up, well, no, she couldn't. She doesn't have enough. But, look at that. Ranged. It's time to attack. Let's go ahead and attack the Minotaur. Since he's there, and it might be a while, because he's going to probably need to collect some of the cards with his icons to get that. Let's go ahead and attack him. Huzzah! I attack ranged, as far as I want, line of sight. This isn't obscuring, so can shoot into it, just can't shoot through it. So, into it, just not through it. So, let's attack. So, looks like there's some damage to be struck, huh? But wait. Does the Minotaur have any shield icons that match his token or common ones? He does not. He does not. So, bam. That sucks for Matilda. Alright. And now, because we know that to be true, guess what we're going to do? That's right. Pig pile. Alright, I hit you again. Once again, nothing. So because Matilda the Minotaur has decided to aggressively pursue that first gem, we were able to interrupt, move, and attack that Minotaur and smack it for 2 points of damage. Now, that's it. That's all that blue player is going to be able to do. So, notice though that on his turn he has less options, so it's a risk. He has to decide whether advantageously or not. Could he have done this on his own turn? He probably could have, but what's the advantage? The advantage is if your opponent is lower on cards and you can interrupt and do something in the hope that he doesn't draw cards at the end of his turn that would have shields in it, then it might be advantageous to do so. Alright, so that's done. It goes back to his turn, because it's still his turn. He had an interrupt. He still has the player token. It's still his turn. But then he's going to go ahead and go, I got nothing, but notice I have 6 cards and not much to do. Can I move? If only he could move. If he could move closer, he could try and smack that. So he's going to do something like this. He's going to say, you know what? I'm going to use both of these to move. I guess he could have drawn cards too, but you know what? Maybe he'll do that. Maybe he's going to use this to move. Because he can move anything, so he's going to move here. You know what, we'll just go. Let's go for the sure thing. He's going to use that card and move here. Now he's in the same spot because he's feeling a little grumpy. And then he's going to use this and go, alright, I'm going to melee hit you for 1 point of damage, little tinker dude. So, now we have to go ask ourselves, is there anything that Tinker Dude can defend? Haha! Look at that. Any character can use the bottom ones here. shield. Boom. So that didn't work out well for the Minotaur. He wasted some time getting down there, thought he could do something nasty, so... But, look at that. He has a free attack with any character. Boom. Got another one? Well, as a matter of fact, I do. So, boom. Once again, he hits. He's shielded. Oh, wait. I'm a fool. That's not how that works. Let's go back. Re-roll that. Because I forgot that you have to actually... Shields only work for range. They don't work for melee. The only thing that stops melee is another melee. Single melee. And so, he hits. Let's go back there. Hits for 1 point of damage. Melee. It's not the shields that block. That's a little counterintuitive to me, but whatever. It's just another sword. So, there are no swords that match the icon. He's the little M guy. There's nothing. So, he has to take a damage. So... It turned out that wasn't such a bad move after all. And if he takes 3 damage, well, he's toast. Alright, and with that, we're done. Now, he once again announces, this is the end of my turn. There's nothing that can be interrupted. We don't have an interrupt card, so there's nothing that can be done by our opponent. So, we're going to go, yay, end of turn. Draw 3 cards. There you go. Now... we relinquish the player token, active player token, over here. And now it's time for our friends here, our little tinker friends, to help us out. First thing is we have to reveal somebody somewhere that can go... Oh no, we're going to do... 31. Perfect. 31. Space 31 brings us right here. Brings us right close. I like it. You're almost ready to be able to do anything you want, whenever you want, however you want, at the time you want. I love it. This rally, we're going to use it. Now this, if there was any friends adjacent to him, then they could all move adjacent or in the same space. They could all move an extra space, but it's good enough just to move him. So boom, move. And that's all we got. We're going to leave it that way. They can't interrupt. There's no cards that let them interrupt. So we're just going to speed chase it through. And we're going to look at that, and we're going to draw and leave it on to this turn. Alright, now we have an interesting situation. Interesting indeed, because we think that we can pull off something amazing. Oh, no, we can't. I lied. We don't have anything amazing to do right now that would get us on the map where it would be most beneficial, because we're looking for orange gems, and there's not a lot of orange gems there, although we do have 35. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's not going to help us. Alright, we're going to put out 35. You know why? Because look at all the icons for 35 there are, so I think there's some possibilities there. Because it's not just getting your gems. If you can take out enemies, that's just as good too. And notice that our little blunder dude, our guy with the blunderbuss, 2 hit points. That's it. That's right. So we have a situation on our hands. Can we move up and take him out using what we have now? Oh, the curious puzzle. So, we're going to do that. We're going to take this and move him 1. We're going to take this and move him 1. And we're going to take this and move him 1. Now there's in the same spot. Now it's time to attack. So, first off, we attack for 1 melee point of damage. Is there anything that can block? Do we have on the blunder? Yes, we do. So, we attack, but he has this to defend against, and so that attack fails. No damage lost. But what about this? This hits all around in the same area and adjacent areas for 1 point of damage. It can only be blocked by a shield. Is there anything with the shield? Now we use the shield. Yep. So once again, we're blocked. And that's it. That's all we got. Only 1 card left. And no damage was taken. So the little fella survives for yet another day. Now, with his turn done and nobody able to interrupt, draw 3. And relinquish the first player token over here. And now we begin and decide what we're going to do. I'm going to fast forward a bit. No, I'm not. Yeah, I am. I'm going to fast forward a little bit so we don't keep going on with this entire session. And I will get back to you just in time to show you a little bit more about how you actually obtain the crystals and the points. We've gotten a little farther. Notice that everybody's out on the floor. Everybody's out on the dungeon area. Except for during the course of the game, poor little Elsie was overcome by the orange denizens of doom and taken over, so she counts as a victory point. So right now, orange team has 3 points, and blue team has 3 points. Now notice that it is actually time for our orange team to commence, and look, he's got the Minotaur with his 4 points of damage thus far, but look at that, he's got three of these, 3 icons. He can get rid of all 3, and he gets to grab there. And now he's ahead. With 1 more point, he's going to win. That is cool. There is another way that should anybody land, for example, for blue, if blue were to say land on here, like this, and we didn't have enough icons for him, although we do, if any of these that are out of the game happen to be available, so if there were 3 of these tokens like so, like that, then you can take a character that's out of the game, use their icons for the sole purpose of having the 3 of a kind to be able to discard and grab the gem. So, and that's it. Whoever gets to 5 first wins. That's really all the game's about. There's not a lot of subtlety and a lot of subterfuge. It's mostly just jam-packed with action. So let's get to my final thoughts and see if it's as good as I'm leading you to believe that it is. Okay. Wildlands. What do I think about Wildlands? As always, let's go with the cons first. I would say that the number 1 pet peeve I often have, that's a personal pet peeve that I realize probably 90% of the populace doesn't have, is I really hate pizza box sized manuals. I hate them. It honestly feels like I'm constantly having to flip through a Red Robin menu of 900 ingredients to get to something. Here it's even more egregious because there's so much negative space when trying to read the instructions. This is a very simple game. Other than a couple little tiny, like, sort of details relating to interrupts and such, it's as brain dead simple as you get. It could easily have been a pamphlet, but they had to do the large scale thing, which I really hate. That's a personal pet peeve. The expansions, which there are already 2, and another map in the works, are not cheap. They're probably, each one of those is about half the price I paid for the game. So if you get into this and you really like Wildlands, you're in it for $100 already, and it's going to continue. So just an FYI. That's not probably a con, but it's at least something to be aware of that isn't going to fill your checkbook with glee. Finally, the map itself was great. The cover, I really wish, and again, this is a nitpick, that when you have cover spots, you have on the map, you have your non-cover spots and your cover spots where you can't shoot through covered areas and such. You have cover is white text on black circle and non-cover is black text on white. I kept having to try and remember. I got it. After a couple games, I'm like, okay, I get it, blah, blah, blah. Because I'm noticing I memorized the map. So I almost memorized the places that were covered more than the symbol. Really wish they'd had, like, an eye that said, I can be seen in a circle if you can't, something. I would have liked a little bit of a different art direction to be more distinctive about what is and isn't color on these awesome maps. Now let's get into the pros. This is constant action, start to finish. It delivers on that. There's no ramp up to speak of. Yes, you do slowly put creatures, but slowly is relative here. You deploy somewhere and you go. Like, you're in the thick of things. It's kind of like real-time chess boxing, whatever, except that you just grab the pieces and start wailing on each other. I love it. You just basically can exhaust everything you can do on your turn, and then you just decide how much you want to leave yourself in a position with as many cards as you have left to defend against other people who are also going to go in and start wailing the tar out of everything around them. choosing your opponent's locations was a really clever way to divide things up, so that you pick where your guys want to go, and then you pick where your opponent's gems are that they have to pick up. It's really cool. It's the classic I cut you deal, if in fact that meant I cut your face off and you deal me a punishing blow. The interrupts keep it more frenetic. It's like King of Tokyo. It's like other games where you're in these arena type gladiator fighting things. You're back and forth. Here, you're always ready to pounce, and the people whose active turn it is are always going, what do I'm gonna do this. Anybody gonna do anything? You've always got your fists up. Always put up your dukes, because you never know when someone's going to take and mess with you. You're always on constant alert. The best laid plans of dice and men often run amok when someone cuts in the middle of them and pummels their face. All four of the factions do feel different, even though they play similarly and they don't seem like they'd be that different. They are different. You're leveraging the terrain and their skills uniquely. Maps are great. They're just enough rules for traversal and line of sight without being overly complex. It's without having like string and eyeballing and all that other stuff. It's pretty simple, and I do appreciate that they do that. It felt like Clank, where you have this map, and it's a static map. It's not going to change. It's not terrain tiles or anything, but you still feel like you have that it's packed with opportunity to beat the crap out of other people. It's always been a cliche that no two games are alike. But in this game, I do feel like there are no two identical situations that are likely to occur because of the way that the random starting conditions play out. Simplicity of ordering and maneuvering means that you get to focus on the battle itself rather than, here's a matrices of the 7 things I can do in the situations I can do them. It's more like, okay, who's available? Who can I activate? Who can I kill? Or do I have enough to grab that gem? Really simple, really great. It's not two option rich. You always have cards in your hand for the most part, but it's also not two options starved, and that you're like, I never have anything to do. But there are those times when you will rail against the great shuffler for drawing that card that you wish had that symbol that you could get the 5th and final gem and win the game, and you just couldn't do it. And yeah, so those are good frustrations to have. So, final thoughts. Martin Wallace is an enigma to me, a mystery, because his games that I have purchased, and I have purchased quite a few, have been games that have been subdued, almost dignified affairs. A Few Acres of Snow, London, the list goes on. This has got to be the wildly entertaining, comical underbelly of his deepest, darkest desire for humans to just beat each other up like primitives of millennia past. It is a surprise. This is like parachuting into a snake pit. You are arena-style combat game, action, and there have been games that have promised that and generally have delivered. King of Tokyo, King of New York, Ultimate Warriors all do the kind of like, let's get in and tussle in a way that's entertaining. But this just amps it up with its compressed mayhem and the feeling of constant threat and the unknown that everything that happened, anybody could at any time pounce on you, or you could interrupt and pounce on them. It's a simple to learn, quick to play, situational battle game that will leave you sweatily victorious or drenched in the wounds of defeat. It is an excellent game for people in the mindset to just want to go have some zany, wild, wacky, fun action. It's blood rage compressed into a tiny shape that just explodes. Highly recommended. I would definitely get that. I plan to get at least one of the adventure packs coming out and the new map, because there's no end of opportunity for content. I wish the price was lower. It's not. But hey, you get plenty of action in the core box to go with. Very cool. So, Wildlands, recommended, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.